So I think we're all just making work that reflects our own unique experience of reality. And my experience of reality was shaped in 2012 when I had my first experience with meditation. It was a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana. It's a Buddhist meditation that means insight, and it's a way of self-transformation through self-observation. So you train your mind to become aware of every sensation, from the subtlest to the grossest, as it arises and passes in your body. And so you begin to understand that everything is impermanent and in a constant state of flux. And when you begin to realize that this truth exists within you experientially, you can't help but recognize that that's how the universe functions as well. And so one of my favorite artists, William Kentridge, also talks about the uncertainty of images and how you can see the world as a series of facts and photographs, or you can see it as something in an eternal process of becoming or unfolding. And my work reflects this notion of reality and constant change and flux in the way that I'm approaching my handling of material. So I'm applying thick, heavy oil paint on the surface, removing it and reapplying. So every part of the painting contains parts of the other parts of the painting. So there's this idea that there are no separate processes in nature, in the world, within us, and also within the painting process. And so I work wet into wet always. So there's this ability to make any type of change that I need with the material. And I'm also trying to allow forms to morph into other forms, and there's this continuity on the surface of the painting of material and in the image itself. It's funny, I didn't realize it until recently, but it's inspired by the very first painting that I made during lockdown, which was a 4x6 painting, a totally dark sea of deep purples and reds and blues. And it was the only painting I could make in the very beginning of all of this uncertainty. All I could bring myself to do was to paint tiny stars in this vast ocean of darkness. So that painting was different than my typical work because I wasn't composing an image, but I was painting the light back in deliberately with hundreds of tiny marks. And so I ended up making this painting, which I see as a continuation of that. So they kind of bookend this whole coronavirus thing, which is so interesting. This painting is so much about the dynamic balance between dark and light. It's not a static balance, it's ever shifting. The pendulum is always swinging, and light is born from darkness and darkness from light, so they contain the seeds of each other. And so I painted this piece, and the very last decisions that I made were to paint these small bits of light in this dark mound on the left. And what I'm really realizing is that this painting, as well as the first one that I made in the lockdown, are trying to communicate the significance of a spark of light amongst the darkness. And so this painting is actually titled A Little Light, which has two meanings. It's a little bit of light, the significance of that in providing hope and faith in the face of uncertainty, and also a little light. So these lights are physically small, but very significant. So I'm excited to share this with you.